$300 million. That's what your life's work just sold for. 13 years of songs, 6 albums, everything you've ever recorded. And the person who bought it, someone who's publicly worked against you for years. This isn't a hypothetical. This happened to Taylor Swift on June 30th, 2019. The masters to her entire catalogue sold to Scooter Braun, a manager she'd been feuding with. What she did next didn't just change her career, it changed the entire music industry. Most artists would have accepted defeat, hired lawyers, maybe won a settlement, moved on. Taylor Swift did something nobody in the music industry had ever attempted at this scale. She decided to recreate her entire discography from scratch and make the originals less relevant. 4 years later, she's a billionaire. The re-recordings are massive commercial successes, and she's fundamentally changed how artists think about ownership in the music industry. This isn't about talent or luck. This is strategic warfare and turning your biggest loss into your greatest leverage. In this video, you'll see exactly how she did it using 4 deliberate strategies. And it started 20 years earlier with a 12-year-old who understood something about power that most adults never figure out. 2002. Taylor Swift is 11 years old in Reading, Pennsylvania. Her family is upper middle class. Her dad's a stockbroker at Merrill Lynch. Her mum worked in finance and marketing. She grows up around people who understand contracts and long-term financial planning. At 11, she's performing at local festivals, but she's not content with covers. She wants to write her own material. Here's where it gets interesting. Most talented kids focus on getting better or getting discovered. Taylor's different. She wants to understand how the music business actually works. She convinces her mum to drive her to Nashville during school breaks. Not to perform, to learn. She walks down Music Row, literally going door to door at record labels, handing out demo CDs. She gets rejected constantly, but she's gathering intelligence. Who makes real decisions? How do deals work? What's the difference between a recording contract and a publishing deal? By 12, she's learned something crucial that most artists don't understand until they've already signed bad deals. The real long-term money in music isn't in performing, it's in songwriting. Because songwriters own the composition rights. So she picks up a guitar specifically to write her own songs. If she writes them, she owns the intellectual property. And intellectual property generates royalties forever. At 14, her family relocates to Hendersonville, Tennessee, just outside Nashville. Her father transfers his Merrill Lynch office. It's calculated positioning at the center of the country music industry before she even has a deal. And it works. At around 14 or 15, she becomes one of the youngest songwriters ever signed by Sony/ATV Music Publishing. Not as a recording artist, as a composer. That means she owns the publishing rights to songs she writes. Every time her songs play on radio, get streamed, licensed for TV or commercials, or covered by other artists, she gets paid, automatically, for the life of the copyright. She's building a royalty stream before she's even famous. At 15, every major label passes on her. Too country for pop, too pop for country, too young, too risky. Scott Borchetta, who just left Universal Music Group, starts Big Machine Records. He signs her as one of his first artists in 2005. The deal gives her creative control. She can write her songs, choose producers, shape her image. But there's a trade-off. Big Machine owns the master recordings. At 15, this seems fair. She gets creative freedom. The label takes financial risk and owns the masters. Standard practice. She doesn't realize this will cost her hundreds of millions of dollars and spark an industry war. Before fame, before leverage, Taylor secured songwriting rights through publishing deals. While others chased record deals and stardom, She understood the fundamental wealth structure. Performers are replaceable, but songs generate income for generations. By locking in publishing early, she built royalty infrastructure that would pay her regardless of future success. This is asset building versus opportunity chasing. Assets compound. Opportunities are one-time events. October 24th, 2006. Her debut album releases. She's 16. First week, 39,000 copies. Impressive for a teenager, but the album doesn't spike and crash. It stays on the Billboard 200 for 157 consecutive weeks, over 3 years. By the end, it's certified 5 times platinum, 5 million copies, and she wrote or co-wrote every track. But sales aren't the most important thing happening. This is 2006. MySpace era. Most major artists have labels running their social media pages with corporate messaging. Taylor does something different. She runs her own page. Personally, she spends hours reading comments and responding to individual fans. Real conversations. She learns names, asks about their lives, remembers details. When someone posts about a breakup, she responds with genuine empathy. When someone shares college acceptance news, she celebrates with them. She's not just promoting music. She's building relationships, creating personal connection that makes fans feel seen and valued. This seems like being nice, but it's strategically brilliant. She's building loyalty that transcends music. When you feel personally connected to an artist, that loyalty becomes unbreakable. It becomes identity. She's building an army. She just doesn't need them yet. November 11th, 2008. Fearless releases. She's 18. First week, 592,000 copies. Best-selling album of 2009 across all genres. At the 2010 Grammys, she wins Album of the Year. At 20, she's the youngest artist ever to win that category. The Fearless Tour grosses over $63 million. Her net worth crosses $10 million. And she's learning. Record sales are marketing. Touring is where real money lives. September 13th, 2009. MTV Video Music Awards. Kanye West interrupts her acceptance speech. The moment goes viral. The world sees humiliation. She sees narrative opportunity. She doesn't lash out. She processes it, writes about it, and releases innocent, positioning herself as mature and gracious. She's learning public perception is a strategic asset you can shape. Between 2010 and 2014, she releases 3 albums that prove something crucial about her strategy. Speak Now 2010, Red 2012. Both sell over 1 million copies first week. Solid numbers, consistent success. But here's what matters. She's not satisfied with consistency. October 2014, 1989. This album represents everything most artists are too afraid to do. Complete genre abandonment, total reinvention. She's leaving country music, the genre that made her famous, and diving headfirst into pop. The stakes couldn't be higher. If country fans turn on her, she loses her foundation. If pop audiences reject her, she has nowhere to land. First week sales. 1.287 million copies. It crushes every other album released that year. Wins Album of the Year at the 2016 Grammys, making her the first woman to win that award twice. By age 25, she's at 40 million albums sold globally, $200 million net worth. And the 1989 World Tour, $250 million in gross revenue. She doesn't follow trends. She forces the industry to follow her. Taylor built fanatical loyalty before most understood social media strategy. By personally engaging fans for years, learning names, responding to life events, making them feel valued, she created community whose connection went deeper than music. This loyalty became her most powerful weapon. When she later needed fans to support re-recordings and stream new versions instead of originals, they didn't just comply, they mobilized. She'd built trust equity for a decade. When she needed it, it paid massive dividends. July 2016, Kim Kardashian releases a phone recording between Taylor and Kanye. The context makes Taylor look dishonest. The internet turns on her brutally. She's labeled a liar, manipulator, snake. She disappears from public life for over a year. Most careers end here. November 10th, 2017. Reputation releases. First week, 1.216 million copies. The tour grosses $345 million, highest grossing US tour by a solo artist at the time. She didn't apologize. She monetized the backlash. Public opinion is temporary. Revenue is permanent. November 2018. Her Big Machine contract expires. She attempts to negotiate buying her master recordings. According to her statements, she was told she could earn back one album's masters for each new album delivered to Big Machine. She declines. She wants ownership outright, not to earn it back while creating new material they'd also own. She signs with Republic Records and Universal Music Group in November 2018. Unprecedented deal. She owns all future masters outright. Universal also agrees if they sell Spotify shares, artists get paid proportionally. She's securing ownership and negotiating systemic change. Then June 30th, 2019. Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings acquires Big Machine for reportedly $300 million. The deal includes her master recordings from 6 albums. She releases a public Tumblr statement calling it her worst-case scenario. Media reaction is mixed. Some sympathetic, others call her dramatic. Industry insiders say she's overreacting, but she's not just expressing emotion. She's shaping public narrative, making it about artist rights, not personal grievance. And she's already planning her counterattack. November 2019. The announcement: she's re-recording her first 6 albums. Industry experts are skeptical. Why would fans listen to re-recordings when originals exist? They're missing 3 factors. 1. Her fan base is ideologically aligned with her fight. They'll stream new versions out of principle. 2. Re-recordings create competing products. When films and TV want to license a Taylor Swift song, they choose between originals from Shamrock Holdings or Taylor's versions from her, with her promotion. Which gets chosen? 3. It's a message to the industry. Artist leverage can override corporate ownership with enough fan support and determination. April 9th, 2021. Fearless, Taylor's version. Releases. Debuts at number 1. Lead single, Love Story, Taylor's version, hits number 1 globally. November 12th, 2021. Red, Taylor's version. Another number 1 debut. The 10-minute All Too Well breaks streaming records. She changed the rules for everyone. When Taylor couldn't buy her masters, she created competition that reduced their value. By re-recording her catalog and mobilizing fans to stream new versions, she fragmented the market for originals. This wasn't revenge, it was economic warfare. She proved that in streaming era, artist leverage and audience loyalty can override corporate ownership. Message to industry: you can buy legal rights, but if the artist controls fan relationships, you don't control value. She can create new value, making old assets less relevant. March the 17th, 2023. The Eras Tour begins in Glendale, Arizona. This isn't just a tour, it's an economic phenomenon. 146 shows across 5 continents. Industry estimates: over $2 billion in gross revenue. Some estimates approach $2.2 billion. That's more than the GDP of 50 countries. Comparable to Fortune 500 company annual revenue. But what makes this different? She maintains control over unusually high percentage of operations. She controls ticketing strategy, negotiating directly with Ticketmaster and venues, controls merchandise production and sales, controls creative production. When she releases a concert film, she bypasses Hollywood studios. She negotiates directly with AMC theaters, cuts out studio middlemen. Taylor Swift. The Eras Tour grosses over $261 million globally, among highest-grossing concert films ever. This is vertical integration. She owns content, significant distribution portions, and direct audience relationships. October 2023. Bloomberg estimates her net worth at approximately $1.1 billion. She's among few musicians reaching billionaire status primarily through music-related income rather than external ventures. Critically, her wealth isn't dependent on corporate valuations or partnerships that could end. It's intellectual property she owns and direct audience relationships cultivated over 18 years. Taylor systematically eliminated value-extracting intermediaries. Traditional artists give labels 70 to 85% of revenue, promoters 30 to 50% of touring, studios 50% of film revenue. Taylor renegotiated or bypassed these relationships. By controlling touring, merchandise, ticketing, and distribution, she captured value traditionally siphoned by intermediaries. This isn't just more money per transaction, it's restructuring value flow. Taylor Swift is 34, a billionaire, owns her masters going forward, successfully re-recording her catalog, reshaped industry contracts. But beyond money, she built institutional power. She's not just successful, she's a case study in strategic thinking and understanding leverage. What's inspiring isn't the $1 billion, it's the framework. She understood ownership versus employment young. The asset owner captures long-term value. The service performer makes short-term money but doesn't build compounding wealth. She built relationships before needing them. Years connecting with fans seemed inefficient, but when mobilizing support for re-recordings, that investment paid enormous dividends. She played long-term games consistently, could have taken bigger advances giving up control. She optimized for control even with less immediate money. That patience created foundation for everything later. When facing obstacles she couldn't overcome traditionally, she didn't accept defeat. She changed the game, created alternative value making traditional obstacles less relevant. She systematically identified value extraction points and built capabilities to capture more directly. These aren't music tactics. These are frameworks for value creation and power dynamics across industries. Your field is different, but questions are same. Where does power reside? What do you control? What relationships are you building? Optimizing short-term income or long-term ownership? When facing obstacles, accepting fixed rules or looking to change the game? Taylor's story isn't a blueprint to copy. It's demonstration that strategic thinking, long-term orientation, and refusing to accept permanent limitations can create seemingly impossible outcomes. That's what matters, not specific tactics, the mindset behind them. If you want more examinations of how wealth and power are crafted, subscribe.